Hey everybody, did you know you can go to colinmullen.com to buy prints and stuff, and eventually I'm going to have it so that way you can buy the originals, but I'm not really sure how to price them yet because that's hard, and I'll let you know once I figure out how to do that. Probably have an episode on that, but stay tuned. Not necessarily to this video for that information, but just in general. Hey guys, so I kind of want to talk about this painting a little bit. I feel like it's reaching to a point where I need to like step away from this style, come back to it after I've learned some more stuff. And so I think that's what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of weeks is stepping away from this style and trying some other stuff. Based on like just what I can tell about what people talk about when I show them my art, people prefer the more realism stuff than they prefer like, I don't know, this. Even the more surrealistic realism than this, and that's fine. I feel like this isn't quite at the level where I want it to be yet. You look like someone who knows how to have a good time is a good example of one that I feel like just did really super solid and I enjoyed it. And I need to improve on this style in order to get to something that is on that level again. And I just haven't really figured out how to do that yet. So anyway, this specific question was actually posed by my Patreons on patreon.com/RevScarecrow. I put up a poll asking like, hey, what do you guys want me to talk about? And first they said, you know, hey, we want you to talk about like how to improve art. And so I did a video on that, and then I did a video on color theory, even though I didn't specifically ask for it. I felt like it was related and I need to do those videos. But anyway, second place was talk about your experiences with art school and weird teachers. So yeah, that's what this video is. You'll have to ignore any rustling or like scratching in the background. We just got a kitten and he likes to like run around and bite things and scratch on things and stuff like that. Right now he's just biting the mic stand. I don't know what that sounds like for you guys. Hopefully not too bad. Anyway, art school was something that I really like tried to avoid for the longest time. I've spoken about it before, about how my parents convinced me that I should finally follow my dream. I think I more or less realized it despite them, if that makes any sense. Like they said to do it, and I was like, nah, I should get a practical job. And then eventually I was like, you know what, I should do art. And they were like, yeah, you should. I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, so before I did that, though, I did take a couple of art classes at the community college, and that was great because one of my favorite teachers was there. She offered me an internship as like someone to help her out with her studio, and I just didn't take it for some stupid reason. It's been about 12 years now, so I think I'm probably a little late to respond to that. Wish I had at the time, though. Now that I look back, like I'd probably be a lot better of an artist. I recall one incident where she was talking to a student. The student was like, you know, oh, I just like the way it feels when I move my hand like this across the canvas. And then she made a fairly crude remark that she had to apologize to the entire class in very vague senses, that someone had taken offense to something that she had said the last class, and that she's working on that. But it was very much like a BS apology that like I could tell that she was just saying because someone reported her for it, probably that guy. I thought it was hilarious though, and the dude deserved it because he wasn't treating it seriously. A lot of people would come into art classes, not just in, you know, community college, but also like university, expecting it to be like an easy class, and then get really surprised when it absolutely was not. I had a lot of art, like medical students drop out of art classes while I was going, just because they expected an easy class, and they were like, this workload is harder than what I have to do already. Like, I don't know how you guys have this much time in your day. And then everyone just sort of like shakes uncontrollably because they're overdosing on coffee. And that's why. Art school, I feel like, has something to prove, whereas med school doesn't. No one's like, oh, you're a doctor? Why would you do that? You know, why would you go to school to become a doctor? No one says that. People say that about artists, though, despite the fact that the only reason we have culture is art. But, okay. Anyway, that's a personal tangent. When I ended up going to that university that I was just talking about, I brought my stuff that I had made so far to bring to the teacher to kind of just talk to one. And I ended up running into the design teacher, who was a weird dude, but a really nice dude. And once you get used to his personality, he was fine. But I brought in like some kind of crappy band posters that I had made, and he was like, you know what, this is pretty good. Yeah, you should apply, man. What are you going for? And then I said design, because I thought for some reason that I would actually enjoy working for other people and not have authority problems, which I do. And eventually decided not to do that and go with fine art, because I prefer working for myself. But anyway, eventually when I did get into the school, I ran into him a few more times. I had to take a design class because they wanted us to be well-rounded, as in spend more money there. And I'm glad I took those classes, because I ended up using the knowledge I have from, you know, the photography and design class that we had to take. It was kind of a combined thing. It was like everything you're supposed to learn in a design major, but one semester, and like everything's glossed over really hard. Just so that way you know what design students are doing, and so that way you can communicate with them, or if you need to get a job doing design stuff, because let's face it, you're a fine artist, you're probably gonna have to do some odd jobs for a while before you actually make it. Anyway, a handful of weird things about this dude. One, he didn't use chairs. He preferred like yoga balls for when he was like in his office, but when he was in the classroom, he preferred like this rolly chair, and he would refuse to walk. Like when he was in the design studio, he would just like roll around the room like some sort of go-kart racer. He refused traditional like mice in his own personal use. Like he would like bring like a weird round ball mouse that I haven't seen since like the 90s. I don't even know where he got this thing, but he was convinced that it was like the way to do art on the computer. And okay, let's see what else. Oh, he made us grade ourselves, which was weird, because you could grade yourself whatever you wanted. Like if you wanted to give yourself an A, you could, and guess what, I got an A in that class. But you had to justify it to him, and I feel like I worked harder at that class than I probably needed to, because like he would go, is that really what you think? Like, you really think you should get a A on that assignment? I was like, yes. And he was like, okay. Most of them were good. Rather than using like traditional words to speak to you, he would also use terms like, what's your vector? Which the first time he said that to me, I got a little offended. I was like, what's your vector, dude? But what he meant was like, what is your change over time? How are you improving? Which is a totally valid question for someone who's, you know, interested in your improvement as an artist to ask. It's just, I didn't understand what he meant, and I have authority problems. Generally speaking, though, if a teacher can prove that, like, they know what they're talking about, like, they can do art well, or they can do whatever well enough, I will follow rank and file like nobody's business. But when it comes to, you know, situations where people just demand my respect for absolutely no reason, nope, that doesn't work. I'm not about that life, man. You got to earn my respect before you can demand it. But that again is my authority problems. The only other weird thing he would do, and maybe I should make this entire episode about him, just because of the weird crap that he would do. The other weird thing he would do would be, I recall one time taking a painting class, and I was painting along, doing my thing. It wasn't uncommon for the door to be open, you know, unless if we're doing like a nude model or something, the door is going to be closed. Or open, so that way people can come in and you know, look in on the artist doing their work, yada yada. Also, to prevent you from dying from fumes, because especially oil has a lot of fumes that will absolutely kill you. And so in order to keep the room having like a cross breeze, that way the fumes would leave, and so people wouldn't die, they'd leave the door open. And so it was you know, every now and then a kid would come in to go and get their painting from the rafters because they were hung up there. I ought to do a video where I just film that school where I went. But anyway, so I'm doing my painting, and I hear this loud crunching noise behind me. And I turn around, and it's him, about like 1 foot directly behind me over my shoulder, eating like mixed nuts. And he's just like, it's good. It's pretty good. So yeah. He was a weird teacher, and that was sort of my experience with the design in general. Like, when I think about design classes, I think about him specifically because he was the head of the design department. He would have, like, you know, classes on like Wacom tablets or Wacom. I don't pronounce it that way. Anyway, all that kind of stuff, just that way you could like get used to that stuff. And he was a good teacher. He was super out there, but yeah. I had a couple of teachers that I had like issues with. There was only one that I really like stuck with that issue. The other ones ended up like I said, proving that they were as good as they said they were. Notably, I had a like 3D like art class. It was like, you know, not like sculpture. That's the word. Sculpture is what 3D art. Anyway, she very much demanded respect from me immediately and had a very strong personality, and I have a very strong personality, and she wanted people to respect her, and I wanted people to respect me, and it really didn't work out for either of us. And we would constantly be in shouting matches and just getting up in each other's faces about stuff. It was not a good experience. I know for a lot of you guys that doesn't sound like something that I would do, but like, you know, like I said, I got authority problems that I gotta deal with, and she was one of the people that I had issues with. Anyway, I distinctly recall 2 occasions. One, we had a situation where there was a active shooter on campus. He wasn't going after us, but there was a situation where like someone had stolen a car or something, and he had brought it to the campus to like run away, and he had a gun, and so the cops were looking for him, so we were in lockdown. And just for an example of what like finals times are like for art students, this one kid kept opening the door to go out to the kiln, and I'm like, bro, like there's a guy with a gun out there. And he's like, dude, I gotta get this done. I gotta get this in the kiln before the hour starts, because if I don't get it in, then I won't get my art done in time, and then I'll get marked off for it. And I'm like, there's a guy with a gun. You stupid idiots. It was at the point that, like, had he gone out one more time, I probably would have just locked the door on him and just been like, you know what, screw it. But that was during one of her classes, and that was sort of the teacher she was. That's sort of art school in general, to be honest. I don't want to pawn that off on her to make it sound like that she was the reason that he had to go out to the kiln in order to risk his life while there was a gunman. But sort of. But I was working on an assignment that I was gluing together, this wooden thing, and I ended up having to lie my way through that assignment because it just fell apart like the day of the assignment. And so I ended up saying like, oh, well, this is how I feel about, like, you know, final seasons and stuff. And I was like, you know, in order for us to really get the experience of it, you know, talk about light and shadow as it pertains to sculpture, I'm going to go and turn off the lights. So I turned off the lights in the room. And so everyone had to like kind of look at it while all the lights were off, which was, I know, sounds like really artsy and all that, but honestly, it was just to hide that like the thing was falling apart and like there were like globs of glue falling off of it. And I just didn't want anyone to notice. I actually got a decent grade on that one. But yeah, I definitely have more stories to tell. I'm gonna have to probably rewatch this one before I do another one, but it's time for me to thank my patrons. If you do want me to do another one of these, let me know and I will do so. But anyway, thank you to Watfu for the continuing support. You're awesome. Thank you, Tilda. You're awesome, and I love you. Thank you, TBG Keru, for the $5 pledge. Thank you, Plex. Thank you, Flenixia Theoran. Thank you, Mafa, for continuing to be an awesome mod. I will actually try and stream at some Eurobro time so you can actually see it. I'm sorry. I'm really trying to get that on the ball. And thank you, Gur X Mistress. And thank you, Doozer. You guys are awesome. But yeah, that is me for now. If you liked this, let me know. If you want to hear more about art school and you want to hear about other weird, crazy teachers, those are some that immediately came to mind. There's a couple where like I remember having other issues with them that you might find interesting, but anyway, I figured that's what the Patreons were asking for. If you want to join them, patreon.com/RevScarecrow, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.